Hey guys, go to hardafseltzer.com. Get some 8% seltzer shipped right to your house. We got the peach, we got the watermelon, we got the pina colada, and the blue raspberry. We are currently live in over 300 stores in Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia, Florida, and the Outer Banks in North Carolina. And if you're heading out to the Major League ballparks this summer, make sure to check us out in the Miami Marlins Stadium, as well as Tropicana Field, home to the Tampa Bay Rays, as well as the Tampa Bay Rowdies. We are live inside all three stadiums. So if you're down in Florida this year, check us out. Go to hardafseltzer.com today and check your store locator or order them right to your house.
Welcome to Drinking Bros, presented by GhostBed.com.
Oh, it's finally here, isn't it? College football is finally here. Welcome to the 2023 College Football Prediction Show. Whew. Long summer. I didn't think we'd ever get here, D'Anthony. Finally, Saturday. Kickoff. We got real games, real players, real ranked teams again. Let's go. As always, we're brought to you by mybookie.com. Promo code Drinkin Bros doubles your first deposits all the way up to $1,000. They got everything over there. You can bet on all these teams, who's going to win the national championship, who's going to win the Heisman Trophy. It's deep, too. They got some deep sleepers in there. Maybe it's a player out there that you believe in that nobody else knows about. Right now, the gambling favorite is obviously Caleb Williams, trying to go back-to-back at a USC. I don't think he does it this year.
We'll see. We'll see. I think there's a number of people that have a pretty good shot this year. You know. Yeah.
Caleb Williams also lost a lot of receivers, running backs, all that stuff. He might be throwing for his life, so his numbers might be great, and their defense is surely going to be shitty again, so he's going to put up good stats. But can he do what he did last year? Who knows? Who knows?
Yeah, that I don't know. I mean, I think the kid in North Carolina always has a shot, right? Mm-hmm. Hartman,
Drake May?
Yeah, Drake May's good. Hartman going to Notre Dame. You're going to get, like, if he has the season that people think he's going to have there, I think he's got a good shot just because it's Notre Dame. You get a bump for that for sure.
And they're playing tough schedules.
Their schedule's fucking brutal.
With some pretty good defenses. So if you're going to show off your skills for the NFL scouts, Notre Dame's a great place to do it. I wish Ohio State selfishly would have got that kid because I'm a big fan.
Marvin Harrison Jr. has got a shot too, but it depends on who the fucking quarterback is.
Still haven't named it. 10 days out, still don't have a quarterback at Ohio State.
I mean, I think there's a good chance they each get a half in that first game, to be honest.
That's what Michigan did last year.
Yeah.
For the first 3 games of the year.
Worked
and you
out.
can afford to do it. So can Ohio State this year. That fourth game, though, is Notre Dame at Notre Dame, which we'll be at. So it's a tough call. I know both quarterbacks, I believe, are listed on my bookie. I know Kyle McCord is, but I don't have a lot of hope in that. Wide receiver-wise, if he had a quarterback, all my money would have gone on Marvin Harrison Jr. this year.
Yeah, I don't know. Wide receivers are tough, though, because to get to that level, the quarterback's usually good, too, and they get all the attention.
Right.
And it's especially in modern college football, how many quarterbacks will get anywhere near the Heisman that aren't also a run threat? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, I don't know. I mean, it might be better off for him that he's juggling a couple of quarterbacks this year. If he gets
McCord's going to be a stud.
Who?
Kyle McCord.
I have a very hot take, Delco. I don't think he's the starter this year.
He's St. Joe's own, you know?
I know.
5-star from Philly.
I know.
Let's
He
go.
was Marvin Harrison Jr.'s quarterback in high school where they won 3 state titles together. The rumors that I'm hearing, though, is that Devin Brown kid is going to be the kid. We'll see. But right now, after 3 years, he should have been named already. So I don't think he's going to do it, man. It's strange to say. But we'll go ahead and start with the top 25 here. Every year we go from 25 down, and we'll give you our predictions here of the college football playoffs, who's going to win it all, who's going to win the Heisman, all that fun stuff. Start at 25. Oh, this pains me to say. It's Iowa. Doesn't exist, never have, never will. They somehow came in at 25, and I got a text message from Craig Dulesky that said, please don't forget to shout out Iowa on the show. Well, I don't have a choice because they are 25, and we got to talk about them, but they're not going to be 25 for long.
No, they're not winning shit.
No.
They may win a couple of their first games, but as far as the season goes, they're not. I would be shocked if they're on a New Year's Six bowl. Frankly,
I don't think they'll finish in the top 25.
Very possible, yeah.
Look, Iowa's MO is the same every single year. They got a great defense, and they never have an offense. They'll usually have a good tight end, and then nothing else on that entire team. There's a listener that hits me up every single year to say, hey, dude, let's come to the Iowa State-Iowa game. It's a great rivalry. It's a fun game and all that other shit. Neither team is ever that great.
No.
They'll have a couple good wins on their resume, and then they'll disappear for the rest of the year. I'm not expecting anything differently. At what point do you just get rid of Kirk Ferentz and just say, hey, we've got to start over and just build a brand new offense?
I mean, they're on the right side of that conference for sure, because you really only have to.
Yeah.
You just have to beat Wisconsin to win to get into the title game.
Mm-hmm.
You don't like in the East. It's Penn State, Michigan, and fucking Ohio State. Good luck. You know what I mean? Although I do think two teams from the Big Ten West East are going to make the playoff. But we'll get to that later.
Yeah,
I mean
course.
the rankings too. They're already Michigan and Ohio State are already top 4, but that's all I'm talking about. Yeah, I don't know. Their schedule. They start out with Utah State, Iowa State, Western Michigan. They'll probably win all those. Then at Penn State, for their 4th game of the season, they're going to get beat by probably 40 points right there.
Yep.
That'd be my guess. Like if you go into Penn State without an offense like that, they're just going to boat race the shit out of you.
Penn State, in my opinion, has the best defense in the Big Ten this year. And they're a sleeper team for me. I don't know what their offense is going to look like because Clifford's gone. They got a new quarterback there.
The new quarterback's supposed to be better than Clifford.
That
but
defense
we'll see, right?
is nasty at Penn State,
Yeah.
and they're going to be a fucking problem this year. Big Ten it's going to be a great year for Big Ten football, just not for Iowa. So I'm sorry, Craig. Okay,
No.
that's your cross to bear in this life. You should have went to a better football school. Nothing I can do about that. Next up is Tulane. Usually this is a school that lives outside the top 25 world here. They're kind of a fringe top 25. They'll pop in, they'll pop out. I think the highest they finished is maybe 14 or 15. This is probably a better question for Delco and Bob here with Tulane. I know you guys are always high on Tulane.
I mean, they finished 12. They finished 12-2 last year.
did.
And they beat USC in the fucking Cotton Bowl.
And it was a fun game.
Yeah.
It
was a shoot 'em up for sure, yeah.
Where are you guys at on Tulane this year?
I mean, they returned Michael Pratt, their quarterback. They returned their coach. They're returning a lot of starters.
They had
They're gonna
3
be fine.
ranked wins last year,
Yeah.
which is more than a lot of teams that finished in the top 25.
For sure.
I mean, it was a good season.
For sure. Now, are they going to stay in this American Athletic? Because with the conference realignment, it's so confusing this year. And I think we just want to skip ahead to where this is all kind of settled and we can start to root for these teams and maybe develop some form of tradition. Are they staying there?
Yeah, they're G5.
Okay, they are. Okay, good.
They're not going anywhere.
They're not
right.
going anywhere.
They really
Well,
made it
Tulane.
They really made it
We'll
a
see,
statement.
right? Like the AAC and the WAC and MAC and Mountain West are all being quote unquote looked at by the Pac-4 or whatever the fuck that's called now.
Uh-huh.
Like they're trying to salvage that somehow by just bringing in anybody from G5 who's competitive, right? And Tulane obviously has been lately, so I don't know what's going to go down there.
I don't either.
Because they don't have the reason everybody was able to leave easily from the Pac-12 is because they didn't have a TV contract, so they don't have any fucking cash on hand to draw these dicks in. You know what I mean?
It wouldn't shock me if Tulane ended up in the Big 12 one day. Like, it's in the same geographic region and everything else. And their football team's been pretty decent the last few years. So
We're pivoting
maybe.
to basketball. Like
Yeah.
Big 12 is a basketball conference. That's what they made their moves in. I would see Gonzaga go to the Big 12 before I would see Tulane.
Okay. Keep an eye on it, though. It's a fun team. It's one of these teams we bet on late at night, and we have a blast. And like Dan said, they've got some ranked wins that are impressive, but just not enough firepower to ever get to a national championship. Maybe, though, I could see in the future once they move to 12 teams, if they sneak in as a 12 or an 11.
Yeah.
It'd be fun to see just so we can see what they would actually do.
Well, yeah, I mean, we'll see.
They did beat USC.
Because this year, I think they're going to get hurt pretty bad by strength of schedule this year. Because two of the teams that always pop up on their schedule are Cincinnati and UCF, and they're gone now. Right? They're in another conference. So the only ranked team they play this year is Ole Miss. And it isn't like, well, we'll see. Maybe one of these teams will jump into the rankings. None of these teams on their schedule are jumping into the rankings, I don't think.
Right.
I mean, that would be shocking. Like East Carolina, Rice, North Texas, Memphis, they're probably not going to be ranked.
South
Memphis,
Alabama,
maybe.
South Alabama's going to be good. No, I'm not kidding. They're going to be like a 10-win team.
Oh, man. Yeah, but against whom?
Yeah. Who are they playing?
They'll be good enough. They've got, I mean, they play Ole Miss, and they catch Ole Miss at home, it looks like, or maybe it's a neutral field. And then, honestly, Memphis could be interesting.
Yeah, you never know. Memphis every couple of years.
Yeah, they'll show up.
And then UT San Antonio, every now and again, they put together a pretty serviceable team as well.
And
but,
you never know with Florida Atlantic because now they got Tom Herman.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But you think that's probably going to take some time. But, yeah.
Casey Thompson, he named the starter for FAU 6 years after he was a starter for Texas.
He sure did.
Tom
Casey,
Herman.
I didn't know he was still around. He pulled him from Texas.
He's trying to break Stetson Bennett's record of being the oldest bastard of all time.
Why not? Looking back at it, don't you wish you could have stayed for 6 years?
Fuck no. People in college are idiots.
I loved it.
No, it's terrible.
Love it so much.
But yeah, this strength of schedule. I mean, Cincinnati and UCF are off the schedule, and that sucks for them.
Yeah, and Cincinnati, look, they lost their coach. Who knows where they're going to be this year? Moving up here to 23 is Texas A&M. To me, this is a little low for Texas A&M. They pay big money, NIL-wise, for a lot of these recruits. In my opinion, they were a little young last year, but now they've got an extra year here. I think this is a team that'll be a lot better than they were last year. And I think they might be able to pull off an upset here or there, potentially in Alabama at home.
Don't forget their scumbag staff they have now.
I know,
Bobby
dude.
Petrino's the OC, DJ Durkin at DC.
Yep.
You know, it's funny. They lost 6 games in a row last year, but they also had 1, 2, 3 ranked wins.
I know.
So it's definitely like hot, cold, probably bad coaching is happening there.
Well, they have talent. And
a lot of people left to go to USC and other places after Homeboy left. So,
but they have talent and they have the dirtbag coaches. So if you're playing in a dirtbag city like that with the dirtbag coaches, everybody could kind of buy into that bullshit. Petrino was
they need an identity.
Falcons.
They need an identity. It's like it's not enough to have a bunch of good players.
Get nasty down there.
They're finally as gross as their city and their campus.
Yeah, and we want to be a part of that. I think we're trying to go to the A&M Alabama game this year. Obviously, A&M's got to hold up their end of the bargain and be ranked at that point. But I would like to go to see how disgusting it actually is. You guys have talked about it for years.
Do you like
and I feel jealous that I haven't seen how gross this place is.
Do you like going to like a state penitentiary?
Yeah.
Haven't been in a while.
Only if I'm looking for tail, you know. Yeah. That's a good place to troll for tail.
Looking for some tush. But I think they'll be better than 23 this year. Whereas the next team here, Ole Miss at 22, I actually don't think they're going to be better than this. I think this team will be in and out of the top 25 all year. I don't know why he can't get good people to come there. It's a fun school to party at.
They have a brutal fucking schedule, too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fucking brutal.
It's a nightmare. They're at Alabama.
At Tulane, at Alabama. They have LSU at home. They have they're at Auburn, which is a tough game. They have A&M and Georgia. All like what the fuck, man? You're looking at. I understand that the rankings right now don't necessarily reflect what you think is going to happen loss wise down the road.
Right.
But there's 5 to 7 losses on this schedule for them. Like they will 100% not be ranked at the end of this year.
And I see Hugh Freeze stealing that game at home against an Ole Miss and just fucking up their world.
It would not surprise me. And the same thing going at Auburn on
it's Auburn, yeah.
Or I mean not Auburn. What was the other one? At Tulane. Like it technically ranked higher than Tulane, but it's a team with momentum and an identity now, right?
Yep.
Versus fucking Ole Miss. Like the last thing I remember about Ole Miss, other than Elijah Moore, is fucking squishy face retard, right?
Yeah, Eli.
Yeah,
Eli
so it's
Manning.
like, I don't know, man. There's a lot of dangerous games on here. I'll say that. Like they're not beating Alabama or LSU. They're not beating Georgia, so that's 3 right there. So
And then they're going to, I'm telling you, Hugh Freeze might steal one at Auburn. Tulane might steal one. It could be a 5-loss team. And I don't know how much leash they're going to give Lane Kiffin here because he hasn't really won. I mean, can they, but let me ask you this, Bob. Is it because they just can't get another coach to go there?
I think they're just going to let him cook. You know what I mean? Like, it's these fucking schools that fire somebody every 3 years. It's insane.
There aren't enough good football coaches to have turnover like that. You got to give a guy some time.
Yeah, they also just had one of their best seasons in like program history.
Mm-hmm.
They did, but I think they take a step back this year. And you guys know the alumni at Ole Miss, like they're delusional too. Where
it is insanely delusional.
It's
like,
crazy.
Just to give you some perspective, Mizzou has been to more SEC championship games than Ole Miss.
yeah, and you wouldn't think that in a million years, right? Because Ole Miss gets so much press.
What is that, 2?
Yeah. We've been to 2. They've been to none.
0. Yeah.
0.
That's right.
They've been to 0, but their fans, like the way you hear them and all that other shit. When you go to the school, you've partied there. Everybody's like, "Oh my god, it's incredible! It's incredible."
Ole Miss is the Chicago Cubs of SEC football.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. They got their Wrigley Field, and that's all nice, but they don't expect anything.
And just so you know, Ole Miss fans, like I want you guys to be good. It's a blast there. It's the same way I wanted Tennessee to be good all these years. Like it's a blast. I want to go to Ole Miss. So it's not the fucking school itself. It is simply your football team. And I don't know what's going to happen with it. Next up, we got North Carolina at 21. Look, Drake May, Heisman favorite, could go second in the draft potentially, or first, depending upon if Caleb Williams has a bad year. I wish he would have gone to another school. I know Ohio State behind the scenes made a fucking quiet offer for him, and he backed out. And I also heard that Notre Dame made an offer for him as well financially. He backed out of that. Why stay at North Carolina on a bad team that's just, this is exactly where they are probably the whole season is 21.
Yeah. I mean, aside from the last 2 seasons, well, I guess you could include those too. There are more first-round quarterback draft picks from small schools than big schools now, right?
Yeah.
Like the number 1 picks, I think the last 2 years have both been big schools, Alabama and
Bryce Young.
And wasn't it? Who was number 1 the year before that? It wasn't homeboy from Chicago, right?
Was it defense the year before that, Bob? I forget who the top pick in the
Trevor
draft
Lawrence. Was the number 1 pick in 2021.
And what about 21? Oh, he was 21?
Yeah.
And then where was Justin Fields in that?
22.
He slipped down to 9, yeah.
In 22, the at Jags again had the first pick. They took Trayvon Walker.
That's it. That's it. Okay. All right. Yeah, but with Drake May, I don't know what he could or couldn't be, and I hope he doesn't get killed like Sam Howell did.
North Carolina is not a good enough team to win when your quarterback is your leading rusher as well, right? You need more balance, and that's kind of offense because you don't have the same kind of receivers that they get at Alabama. I'm sorry, like every now and again they'll get one, but you're not getting like Alabama, Ohio State level receivers where you just got to get it somewhere near them and they make the catch and then run for 90 yards.
If Drake May was at Ohio State with the receivers there,
he'd be great. Yeah,
Jesus Christ, he went Heisman.
But then he wouldn't learn anything. He probably will end up being a better NFL quarterback because of that. We've talked about that before. But as far as college goes, I mean, their run game, their leading rusher, aside from him, I think had like 450 yards last year. That's not going to cut it. You need a balanced offense with a team like this.
Well, you hope so because Sam Howell regressed there in his second year after he was favored for the Heisman. Now, I watch every single preseason NFL game because I'm a junkie like that. And I finally got to see him play a full half with Washington. He looked fucking good, dude.
Yeah,
but he finally had receivers and everything else. And I was like,
loaded down.
Oh, well, shit. That's the kid we thought could have won the Heisman. But he didn't have any of that talent on his team in college, and it almost cost him. Like, he got really lucky to get drafted by the Commanders, and they just so happened to need a quarterback this year. Hopefully the same thing doesn't happen with this kid, but we'll see. But 21 is probably where they'll live for the whole year. They'll be in and out of the top 25.
I think they're going to not spend much time in the top 25. There's a good chance they start 1 and 2.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, they don't have... Like, the receiver core is not very good.
But they'll come in the rest of the year, I think. Like, Mac Brown is a good enough coach where he can get the kids to believe, and then they'll get in it towards the end of the year. I I think they'll get back in it, but they'll live right around this area at 21.
I think they're gonna. I think they start 1-2, and then they're gonna rip off a bunch of wins because the middle of their schedule is really squishy, and then Clemson's gonna probably dick them down.
They could be, but here's the thing with Drake May. He's good for one upset, so he might get one of these.
Well, none of these
teams.
they wouldn't be upsets, but South Carolina and App State are problems.
Minnesota is too. Minnesota is a top 35 team in.
They're a grimy little fucking team up there.
App State's one of those when you play them the first 2 or 3 games of the year, you fucking watch out.
I know
because
try.
It's like a fucking high school football team that just rips off college wins.
Syracuse is better this year.
I'm not doing that.
Yeah, we'll see about Miami too. I mean, they've been paying for a lot of people, so we'll see how it goes.
We'll be at the opener.
But nobody in the rest of these, like Virginia sucks, Georgia Tech, Campbell, Duke, NC State, they're all terrible. So I mean, they could end up being 7-4, and being like ranked 25th maybe. But I don't know.
Duke's got some guys this year.
They do.
I'm just
I'm
putting
not
this
willing
way.
to entertain it.
North Carolina's soft. They're gonna lose.
They
Close
could lose
games.
to Duke.
They're gonna lose close games. They're soft.
Yeah, but both of those teams. The ACC is soft in general. Next up, we got Oklahoma. Look, they're at 20, and I think that is simply on name only. I don't know, but unless their schedule is just complete dog shit across the board.
So there's 131 teams in Division I, and Venables has before last year was considered widely considered to be one of the best defensive minds in college football. Right? He built the defense at Clemson, which was very good for a very long time. Still is great. Oklahoma ranked 122nd out of 131 teams last year in total defense.
Yeah, it's not good.
No, that's like including all the shitty teams that get boat raced in the SEC and the fucking Big 10 and Big 12 by the better teams in those conferences. So, yeah, it's not great, man.
Not only are they not going to have a good year, in my opinion, this year, but then they're going to head to the SEC, and it's going to get worse for these guys. I don't know how they catch back up.
Well, they added 2 5-star defenders. One is an edge rusher, one is safety. They added Dasan McCullough, who's a linebacker that plays like Michael Parsons style linebacker, right? Mm-hmm. So he's all over the place all the time. And they added like 5 or 6 more people in the portal. So we'll see, right? This is the same thing though that A&M did last year. Now, granted, they had a bunch of people exiting because for the transfer portal as well. But this is the same kind of thing that happened there. They got a couple of good recruits and then a bunch of people in the transfer, and it didn't really materialize. So we'll see what Venables can do here. I think his name is on the line right now.
Can we be fair to them, though, last year with that defense? Dylan Gabriel got hurt pretty early on, and they just didn't have a backup quarterback. So they were running like the Wildcat for a couple games.
Yeah, and I understand it, but you can't lose to your rival 49-0 either. That's not a thing that would happen in this world where you typically you can keep your job. I mean, he's so new. Obviously, you're not going to get rid of him. But a defensive coach in today's college football world as your head coach, I don't know how that can work.
Well, I mean, so he's going to get pretty deep into this season before it becomes a problem. They play Arkansas State, SMU, Tulsa, at Cincinnati, but Cincinnati lost everybody, including their fucking coach, right? And then Iowa State, right? So probably 5-0 starting out, unless something horribly wrong happens.
Because they're not getting the recruits that Georgia's getting. If you are to build a defensive team, they're just not getting those guys.
No, there was Oklahoma fans being like, do we really want to go be a second-tier team in a more famous conference instead of being the kings of the conference we're in now? Like, that doesn't – it makes sense for, like, Missouri or Maryland and schools like that to change conferences more so than it does the blue bloods like USC and Oklahoma and Texas to me, especially Oklahoma and Texas, who are going to go and, like, you're just going to get run train on.
I know.
Like, these schedules are insane. 2 notes on Oklahoma's defense. By the way, you're going to know if Oklahoma's defense has gotten any better in that SMU game second week. SMU is the 19th ranked offense in the country. They might gash them. 2 things on the Oklahoma defense. One, I think their defensive coordinator is a fake person. His name is Ted Roof.
Sure.
Which sounds like if I was cheating on my wife, I'd be like, no, I was out with my friend Ted. Ted Roof, not a whore. Ted Roof.
It sounds like a guy that drops off a cart at the house who wants to clean the gutters.
Yeah.
You're like, that's not a real name. What's your thing?
And now, let me give you Ted Roof's resume.
Okay.
as a defensive coordinator. And you tell me if these sound like impressive jobs he did. 2020, Vanderbilt. 2019, he was the DC at App State. Notoriously not a very good defensive school. He was the defensive coordinator at Georgia Tech from 2013 to 2017. And then, Dan, he was your defensive coordinator in 2012, and he was, Dan, your defensive coordinator in 2011.
How was that 2011 team for you, Delco?
2011, I think we were like 5-7.
Look at you guys. Look at you guys. My prediction for Oklahoma, I don't even think they finished the season in the top 25.
Nope.
I honestly don't.
I'm going to sprinkle SMU money line with that.
Same. And it's such a crazy fan base that loves Oklahoma, and they're just so far from being anywhere near a top 10 team anymore.
They're going to dump in points on SMU. Take the over for sure.
I'm taking the over.
Well, I'll take the over for sure, but I still think SMU, depending upon what that spread is, because it'll probably come in at, I don't know, 15, 16 points, somewhere in there. Like I'm taking SMU probably. Next up, number 19, we got Wisconsin. This is my dark horse of the year.
Yeah, apparently they've retooled not just a new offensive style, but they brought in 2 transfer portal quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. They brought in like 6 transfer portal receivers. Now, I think 3 or 4 of them were red shirts on their team.
Yep.
So they've been around they know what it's like to be in college, and this is going to be their first year playing.
And I think Tanner Mordecai might be the starter there.
It's him or Nick Evers from Oklahoma. Those are the 2 guys they brought over.
Mordecai also from Oklahoma.
Yeah, I was going to say my money is on Mordecai on this one, but they also got a new offensive coordinator. They got Phil Longo in there, and they are going to run the air raid offense, which Wisconsin fans have never seen. I mean, this is a fucking team that has been built on defense for years and years and years.
They also have a really good
running back, and then that's it.
Well, Braylon Allen's a really good running back. I think
they always have the best.
I think he had like
backs.
1,300 yards last year. So if you're able to stay on schedule and not have a bunch of 3rd and 7s because you have a good running back, that air raid offense becomes way more dangerous.
I know.
And your fucking defense, which is always elite, stays off the field. And they're in the western side of the Big Ten, which means there's not a whole lot between them and winning that and being in the fucking Big Ten championship game.
And Luke Fickell's now their coach.
Yeah, and if they go to the Big Ten championship game and that's their only loss, how do you not put them in the fucking playoff? Depending on how everything else stacks up. So, I mean, that's a dark horse for fucking national title right there.
Well, for the college football playoffs for sure. Yeah. Potentially a national championship.
They're not going to beat.
For me,
I don't think they'll beat Georgia or LSU.
I don't know.
Maybe Alabama.
But here's the thing. I don't know if they'll have to play them, and we'll get to that in a second. But if you're Ohio State, watch out. That is an upset alert game for me. It is a night game in Camp Randall. People are going to be going bug fuck, and with a new quarterback this year, playing there on a night game on a Saturday night, man, I'm not looking forward to that at all. But I think they win the Big Ten over there, and I think they go to the Big Ten championship.
They're
and
definitely.
They'll face either Michigan or Ohio State. Leaning towards Michigan.
The only issue they have is that by the time the season's over, their only ranked win will probably have to be Ohio State. Like, that's the only one, because I don't think Iowa will be ranked by then. There's a chance Minnesota will. They usually play well in the second half of the season, so there's a chance Minnesota will, but I don't see anybody else on this.
October 21st, they got to go to Champaign. They're not walking out.
Oh, God.
Would you fucking stop?
Are you kidding me? Burt is so back.
No.
Illinois
is so
the best dark horse.
No, not doing that. I've got Wisconsin in a.
We're clipping this.
That's fine. You can clip this. But I've got Wisconsin winning that division over there, and then let's say they do beat Ohio State. And then let's say they play either Michigan or Penn State in the Big Ten championship, and they end up winning that. Mm-hmm. Those 2 wins will be enough to get them into the college football playoffs, in my opinion.
It should, but
so we'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see. But that is one of my favorite teams this year, and it is unfortunate that Ohio State is playing them on the road. As a fan, as a college football fan, it's great when Wisconsin's great. Blast of an atmosphere down there, and everybody goes fucking nuts. Huge drinking town, all that other shit. Love to see it. Just same as last year with Tennessee. Love to see Tennessee back. Love to see Wisconsin back. I think it's going to be a really, really fun season for those guys. So congratulations down there. Next up is Oregon State.
This is fucking retarded.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? They like DJ Ukulele is going to be their quarterback. This dude can't fucking play the position of quarterback. What are you doing?
But there's no defense in this conference, which is why I think he went there. The only thing that I wonder is, and this is a question I guess for everybody in here, they're one of these Pac-4 teams that is still left. They're not going anywhere.
Yeah,
what does that do to your psyche playing an entire college football season? Yeah. Or is this where you go, it's us against the world and fuck everybody?
It's fucking major league.
Win the whole
fucking thing.
Yeah, but there is no whole thing to win. Nobody gives two fucks about the Pac-12.
No.
And that's why everybody left it.
They just need to. I think there's a very good chance they beat both Oregon and Washington this year. This is not a team to be fucked with. They're ranked 31st in the S&P Plus rankings.
Oh my god!
Look, I agree that they could be.
Did you not watch this guy play quarterback the last 2 years? Are you fucking kidding me?
But the defense, he's going against the easiest defenses in the country.
I don't care. No, he was in the ACC. Are you fucking kidding me? What are we talking about defense?
Pac-12 is even worse.
No, it's not one fucking prayer. It is.
We bet the over all year long and never lost a game.
Oregon has one of the best defenses in college football every single year.
We never lost a fucking over.
The Pac-12 had like 7 ranked teams last year. But
they do this year, but I'm with you where it's like you've got Oregon and Washington, who I don't believe in either, so all of it is possible.
Well, I mean, they'll get boat raced by Utah. I mean, that they'll lose that game badly.
Utah might be my favorite team in the Pac-12, and I can't believe I'm saying that.
Maybe Oregon loses. I don't think the Cougars will lose. But maybe Oregon does because it's at fucking this weird ass stadium.
Yeah, that's a spooky game for them. By the way, I looked it up. Ted Roof's 2014 Georgia Tech team that went to the ACC championship game. 92nd ranked defense in the country.
Yeah. Oh, I had that backwards. They have Washington at home and Oregon's on the road. They'll lose to Oregon, right? Don't you guys like Oregon?
They're gonna go in there.
Civil War, baby.
They're gonna go in there for the final Civil War game on the Traitors Field.
And rip Bo Nix's throat out.
So Bo Nix is in his 9th year. Let's let this man have his fucking flowers.
Oregon State will not be ranked at the end of this year. This kid is the worst college football quarterback at major universities I've ever seen in my life. He is completely incompetent.
I get it. I'm with you. I don't like him either, but man, with no pressure on there, with no defenses, he might be able to put up some decent numbers.
I'll say this. If you know how like when a running back, like if he gets to the second level, like all bets are off, you know what I mean? Like he can really get his legs moving.
Yeah.
If they beat Utah at home, they got a lot of room to run.
It's not going to happen.
I'll take that penny stock right now. Dan's selling all of the DJ stock. I'll lead it up. I think he's going to have a big bounce back year. Change of scenery.
It would only be a bounce back year if he had ever had a good year before. It wasn't like he had a good one and then a bad one. No, he sucked out loud the entire time he's been in college.
He had one good game against Notre Dame.
Oh my God.
That's right. It was, and I think it was his first game ever.
It was the game when Trevor Lawrence was hurt, right?
It was, yeah. And he had like 400 yards. I watched it.
Yeah, so that's like...
They still lost.
I'm not impressed. I'm sorry by that. This dude, we watched him play against ACC defenses the last 2 years, and he is fucking terrible.
Yeah. Look, it's a perfect spot for him to go.
I blame Dabo.
Yeah. You can blame anybody you want.
He's not been good at managing quarterbacks or anything.
No. Trevor Lawrence, Deshaun Watson.
His OCs are gone.
Well,
it's not him. It's his fucking coordinators.
Yeah, he has lost all of his coordinators.
All of his coordinators
Who
left.
Was the OC? Well, first it was Chad Morris, and then there's been a couple dudes, I guess.
Yeah, that's what happens at every big school. You lose all your fucking.
Well, that was
people.
Clemson's weird thing. They kept Venables forever somehow.
Well, they paid him $2 million a year, so he was the highest paid DC in the entire fucking college football. So.
I bet he wishes he was back there making $2 million a year right now.
Sure does. Instead of being in Oklahoma, Jesus Christ. Real quick, as always, we're brought to you by MyBookie.com. Promo code Drinkin Bros doubles that first deposit all the way up to $1,000. Now, you can bet on all these teams that we're talking about as far as wins and losses and everything else, along with the Heisman Trophy finalists, CFP teams, and the national championship. Load up now. Saturday is coming real goddamn quick. We will be picking the 2 top 25 games this week at the end of this show here, and it's the best place to do it. Look, DraftKings and all that other bullshit, still not open in all 50 states. MyBookie is the only one to do it. I think Busting with the Boys and all those other guys are over there as well. Like, they're having problems opening up these states. That's why Barstool sold back to Barstool, actually, from Penn, is because they have to open up a brick and mortar to get in all these 50 states. You do not need that with MyBookie.com. You can bet in all 50 states and use that promo code Drinkin' Bros to double your first deposit up to $1,000 over there and bet on all the shit. You put in 100, you get back 100 and all the other things. If you want to go to any games this year, go to drinkinbrostickets.com. We got everything. Concerts, college football, NFL, fucking rodeo. You name it, we have it. Just bought all the tickets off of there last night for the games. Delco, I did get you front row for UCF. So you'll be right down there behind the visitors bench. I had to do something. You know that, right? I couldn't put you behind your own team's bench. You will be behind Kent State. However, it does give you the opportunity to yell out "For Dead in Ohio" every time they score. Okay? You're in the front row. You can do whatever you want down there. There was a couple weird seats ahead of it. I was told that they were handicap seats. My buddy Benny did say we could buy those, but I don't know how that would work out.
We'll put you in a wheelchair for that event.
Do you want to go in a wheelchair down there and get even closer to the action, Delco? It's up to you.
Nah, I'll just get on the field.
Okay. All right.
Oh, we'll wheel you out on the field.
Well, let me ask you this. Will they storm the field versus Kent State?
No.
You don't think so?
No.
All right. No. We'll see.
But it does get pretty rowdy there. It's always a fun time.
I'm looking forward to it.
I just don't think when they're up by 35 points in the first half, I don't think they're going to storm at the end of the game.
This is a stay at the tailgate type of game.
Hey, guys, I think it's going to be a lot closer than you think, okay?
No, it's not.
It's really not.
Kent State has been doing some stuff. I think they got that new LeBron James thing, that workout machine that he's doing. So I think they should be fine.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
You look in the mirror and you pull down on the bar, and I think they're going to be good.
Maybe that's why he's going bald. He's just dragging that thing across the back of his head or what?
Oof, that skull. You know who else going bald? Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
Real
he's
bad.
too tall. He's too close to the sun, man.
Dude.
He's leaning into it, though, and I respect it. Like, he's just, like, going, like, old man bald. Like,
Kareem.
yeah.
Back in the day.
Yeah, like Jack Mandeville,
Yeah.
Yep.
basically.
Yeah.
Why not?
They're probably the same age. It's just sad.
No, Jack is like 39, I think.
I think Durant.
No,
I know this
Durant's
is his 17th year.
I think he's like 33.
17th year in the NBA. He might be 33 or 34. 34, yeah.
34.
He's close to Jack. Next up, we got TCU at 17. I don't understand this at all. You lost everybody on that team. Duggan was your heart and soul. You lost Quentin Johnson. You lost your running backs in this one. What am I missing here about TCU?
Bring in Kendall Briles as your OC.
I get that, but who's the talent? Who's back there
Well,
year
see.
one that is worthy of 17 in the nation?
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, they have the schedule's pretty easy, I guess.
I would have slotted Wisconsin
But they
ahead
have
of them.
like they have K-State like two-thirds of the way through the season. And then 2 games later, they got Texas.
Well, K-State, I understand. I understand them at 16, and I'm okay with that. They're
No,
just
I mean,
ahead of them.
I'm just saying, I don't know that K-State is going to end up at 16 at the end of the year either. But if they can maintain a state rank, there's 3 possible ranked wins on here because I don't believe in Texas. I will never believe in Texas.
This year I do.
I can't imagine why. But
well, let me ask you this. We're going to the game. Who are you hoping wins that one?
Texas at Alabama?
Yeah.
I don't care.
You don't want to see the souls get sucked out of the stadium there? 90,000 people?
Yeah, it would be. I don't know that it would be worth it to have to come back here and listen to Texas fans because they would beat Alabama and then still go like 7-4 on the season. I'm not kidding.
They have a pretty easy schedule. Their home schedule this year for Texas is a joke. We'll get to it. But TCU is a little too high for me. Kansas State is at 16. That's fine. This isn't a team.
That's based on last year's performance.
Yeah, this isn't a team that could go to the playoffs or win a natty, in my opinion. So
they lost Deuce Vaughn. They lost Malik Knowles. It's like their 2 best players.
Deuce Vaughn has looked really good in preseason for Dallas too. Big fan. I picked him up in a draft on Friday night.
They got their quarterback back, and the 2 better players on their defense, which is a big needle mover for them last year, are both back as well. So who knows? I mean, I don't know what their recruiting class is like, but this is probably about right because they play. They'll get a couple of ranked wins probably. So
yeah,
I'm sure they'll be ranked.
They'll be there, and it's one of these teams that fills out the top 25. So they'll be there. They just won't be in the top 4 or competing for anything. Next up, we got Oregon. Look, Bo Nix is back at quarterback this year. If you want a dark horse for the Heisman, that's probably the guy to throw your money on. No defenses there in the Pac-12. He's 56 years old, same as Stetson Bennett. He should have all the poise and calmness in the world up there. And then 15, I think, is a good spot for Oregon here. That Oregon State game, depending upon their motivation, could go either way there because it is their rival. But I expect Bo Nix to have a decent year. Oregon, best case scenario, finishes inside the top 10. Worst case scenario, finishes inside the top 25. But I think this is where they live.
If they're in the top 10, they're probably in the top 5, to be honest, because to be in the top 10, they're going to have to be Washington, Utah, and either USC or Oregon State. They're going to have 3 or 4 ranked wins, right?
I think they could beat Washington. I think they could beat USC. Utah is the question mark. Where
it's
is
at
that?
Utah.
It's at Utah. Yeah, that's a tough one.
That's
a tough one.
But they have Oregon State at home, so that's good news.
Yeah.
We'll see.
And then next up is Utah, actually, at 14. I believe in Cam, dude. I believe in Cam Rising. I like this team. I think they fucking smoke Florida opening game. I know that spread has dropped down to 7 for the opener, but I think they fucking destroy Florida at home. That kid is a sturdy, gritty fucking quarterback. Losing Dalton Kincaid sucks. He was the best tight end I've seen in a long time in college football. Yeah. And that one hurts. But it is just a tight end, and I think you'll be able to make up for it. And I think Utah could win the Pac-12 this year.
I think Utah has a little bit of something to prove. They kind of
I agree.
They kind of got not fucked because, they can and should have won that game, but it was just very unfortunate scheduling for them that they had to go to the Swamp last year for game 1. Because if that game is in Utah last year, they win it, and then they win the Pac-12 with one less loss, and they go to the playoff instead of TCU, who lost their conference championship.
And
right.
Bob, last year, by the way, I lost a fuck ton of money betting on Utah. I picked Utah to beat Florida at the Swamp last year, and they were close. It came down to that one throw at the end. It shouldn't have.
Playing in the Swamp in August or
Yes,
whatever.
they looked exhausted, man.
They had to go against Richardson,
Yeah, Richardson was a one-man wrecking crew.
He wasn't.
He sure was.
He was that game.
Oh, God. Dude.
That game
was everywhere.
Was, yeah, that game.
We saw him at Tennessee, remember? Tennessee, he brought them all the way back within 1 touchdown. They were down by 3 touchdowns.
Look, it's not his fault.
It's not. He was great. But that Florida team was just dog shit.
Well, talent-wise, he's really good. But performance-wise, he only threw for 2,500 yards last year.
He didn't have anybody, though, on the
team.
team.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So it wasn't a one-man wrecking crew. I guess that's true.
How many yards did he run for? I think he was over 1,000, right?
No, 654. But they had Travis Etienne's little brother and Montrell Johnson as well. They had their 1 and 2 running backs had 1,500 combined. Actually almost 1,600 combined, and then he added 700, 650.
Yeah. I think.
But it was. Man, that sucked, to be honest, because I think he was talent-wise probably the best quarterback in college football during his 4 years.
Fuck yeah, dude.
But nobody, not one time did they put a serviceable team on the field.
No, and they don't this year, in my opinion. I think they get blown out by Utah. I'm taking
who's their starter?
Week.
Is it?
It's going to be either
Jalen
Mertz.
Kitna?
It's going to be Mertz from he's touching kids at another university now.
It's Mertz from Wisconsin, yeah.
Yeah, Mertz from Wisconsin. I think the backup is Jack Miller, the third stringer from Ohio State. I don't know what's going on with that program, man. They can't get any recruits. They can't get anybody in there.
Napier's actually recruiting pretty well.
Florida's they're not even in the top 25, man. I mean, when's the last time Florida wasn't in the top 25?
Probably not that long ago. They've been kind of inconsistent.
Yeah,
they haven't done shit since they haven't been relevant since Urban was there.
So they made some New Year's Six bowls under Mullen
a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, and under what the fuck, the idiot Muschamp. But I mean, like they have the number 13 recruiting class this year. They have. It's just gonna take time. Those coaches just left it a mess.
Mullen he was on record, was like, I don't like to recruit, so he left the fucking cupboard dry.
And Florida fans hated him.
Yeah, I mean, in college football, saying I don't like to recruit is basically saying your head coach being like, I'm not really into coaching.
You shouldn't be a college football coach. If you're saying I don't like to recruit, that's the fucking job, and you should be fired. So they did the right thing there. They're not a top 25 team. They're probably a 5-6 team. 5 and 7. I mean,
Florida,
they've got a brutal schedule.
It's going to be worse than that. Florida's schedule is a fucking nightmare.
Brutal. It's brutal.
Jake's optimistic, and I think he said 7 wins.
Oh, gross. Not even close. 5 would be a good season for these guys. 5 wins for Florida. And I know they're not ranked, and that's your show, so I apologize. But they are playing Utah opening week, and I'm all the fuck in on Utah in that game. And I love the Cam kid. Notre Dame's up next at 13. Should be higher. They got Washington at 10. I would probably flip-flop them there. Sam Hartman is great. Their defense is great. Man, they just have a tough schedule. But if they knock off Ohio State at home, they could roll, and we'll see what happens there. But a lot of good reasons to be excited about Notre Dame football coming up. I don't know what the recruiting class is like after Sam Hartman leaves, because let's face it, he's one and done, and he's out of there after this. But it's a good fucking team. It is a night game at Notre Dame for that Ohio State game, week 4. Hartman should be rolling by that point, and Ohio State will probably be on upset alerts, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of not the best thing, I guess, that they're playing their first game in Dublin against a service academy with a new quarterback coming in. Mm-hmm. Like, you don't get the opportunity to – there's no preseason, you know what I mean? Like, you play inter-squad games, and every now and again they'll play, like, with a local team.
You don't scrimmage another – you don't scrimmage another university.
It doesn't really happen that much. Starting off against a service academy is just it's going to stunt them a little bit, but then they've got Tennessee State and NC State and Central Michigan after that, so I'm sure they'll be fine. By the time they get to Ohio State, they should be pretty locked in.
I think so too, and it's a good team. They won't make the college football playoffs or win a championship or anything, but it is a very good team this year. Next up is Tennessee at 12. Can they repeat the magic after Hendon Hooker's gone with Milton? Maybe. I believe in Heupel. I know you don't like him for whatever reason, Delco.
Diminishing returns every year.
But
what do you mean for whatever reason? He left my school.
But besides that, like, he'll put up 50 points a fucking game
until he doesn't, right? Like, he has a very, very simple offense. He calls mainly like 4 to 5 plays and just on repeat.
It doesn't work long term. We both have had him coach our teams, and it just gets worse every year.
Because, I mean, the book's out.
Well, did they get? Let me ask you this: did they get any defensive recruits down here in Tennessee? Because their defense was a fucking problem last year.
Defense wasn't that bad last year.
Bama put 48 on them. The Florida game we were at, they put 42 on them.
Bryce Young put the Florida one's more egregious, but Bryce Young putting 40 on anybody's not. That's Alabama's legit.
I think Tennessee's going to be better this year than they were last year.
Yeah,
really?
Still going to put up.
I think Joe Milton III is a dark horse candidate for fucking Heisman.
With Heupel, yes, because he'll go for 10,000 yards.
Not only will he throw for a bunch, but he'll run for a bunch as well. He is really good for a college quarterback. He's been he was hidden at Michigan. Finally got some snaps last year after homeboy went down and just lit it the fuck up. He had 10 touchdowns, no interceptions last year against good teams, dude.
He's got a fucking cannon.
He's got a cannon.
He can throw it like 80 yards in the air. I was watching some of his highlight footage,
and he's got
it's impressive.
What's the kid's name? The wide receiver.
Jalen Hyatt went pro.
Yeah, not
he's
him.
He's on the Giants now. He's looked good in preseason, by the way. If you're looking for a late round flyer in fantasy football, but I don't know who else they have there, but underneath that offense and everything else, he should put up some big numbers. We'll see what happens. Tennessee's got Georgia. That's a tough game. I believe they're at Alabama, and then are they playing Florida this year? I think they are.
They play Florida every year.
Yeah.
They're in the same. This is honestly a pretty weak schedule for an SEC team.
It is.
It is. So essentially, the way it works in the SEC, it's like, okay, who's your other? Especially if you're in the East, it's like, all right, who the fuck are you catching from the West, right? Because they get Alabama every year because that's their rivalry, which is unfortunate for them.
Right.
They have to play at Alabama this year, but the other team they catch from the West is A&M, and they get A&M at home. So that's not that bad. They also get Georgia at home. Their toughest, literally their toughest road games are either going to be it's Alabama, and then the second toughest road game is either literally at Kentucky or at Missouri.
And look, I hope they're good this year because that's the only tough game on Georgia's schedule this entire season. So I want to see that at least be competitive and see what happens there. But they're not going to be bad this year. Next up, we got Texas here. Texas.
Oh, God. It's give me a fucking break at number 11 with Texas. I don't understand why Quinn Ewers had a good, 2 series against Alabama, and now everyone's like, oh, look. And for the season last year, he was under 60% completion. That is fucking dog shit. Are you kidding me?
He had a shoulder injury.
God damn it. And then he had a kind of okay game, but then a loss in a bowl game. right? Because they're chasing.
They
the
rushed
whole
him
time.
back because he had to get that NIL money and he had to play 8 games. So
I don't think that had anything to do with it.
sure,
No,
the
he
fuck
just
did.
sucks.
I think he'll be all right. Look, I'm looking at the schedule. You got They have the easiest home schedule there is. They got Rice opening game. I think they beat Alabama here.
They're definitely
they're
not beating
not beating
Alabama.
You don't think so?
No, fuck
Not
no.
in Tuscaloosa.
No, not
Who's
one.
their
fucking
quarterback?
prayer.
Who's
Not a-
Alabama's quarterback?
Doesn't you
It
could
doesn't
play
matter.
quarterback for Alabama and they would still beat Texas.
It's going to be probably Milrow, right?
No. I've heard Buckner. The Buckner kid might
Well,
start.
Buckner would make sense because you have Tommy Rees coming down from Notre Dame, so he's familiar with the offense.
The
but
only
you
problem
play
is he
both quarterbacks.
just got there an hour ago. So
But it's the same system that he just played with Tommy Rees at Notre Dame.
I don't know, man. Look, call me crazy. I'm going to go with Texas on that one, and we'll see when we get to the game there. But then they got Wyoming, win that game. Then they got Baylor. Meh.
That's a tough game for Texas
At Baylor is going to be tough for
Yeah,
them.
there's a good chance they lose that game.
Kansas, and then they got Oklahoma.
We're not buying Kansas.
I'm not
We're
buying
we're selling
Kansas.
all
I'm
the
not
Kansas
buying
stock.
Oklahoma.
Houston's. We don't know what
They
they're
got
gonna be
Houston
doing.
right after that.
Houston's
Yeah,
ass.
Houston.
they can score sometimes, but I don't even think they have a good quarterback right now, right? So
No.
they're not even scoring.
BYU is after that. That's a winnable game. Kansas State, that's a tough game.
But it's at home. I'll
It's
say
at
this.
home.
Look, this is a bitch ass schedule.
It is.
And Texas might end up being a very, very soft, 11-1 Big 12 champion. And under the right circumstances, they might be able to get into the playoff where someone like Georgia or Michigan or Ohio State will rip their brains out through their assholes.
Yes, I agree. But is it good enough to get to the playoffs and then keep the delusions going and all that other stuff?
No.
And hey, if they do beat Alabama, you know exactly
They
what their
won't.
fan base is going to
Yeah,
do.
they won't though, and honestly, I bet they're going to lose 3-4 games because this
Yep.
is like they're incompetently coached. I don't think they're a very coherent.
They're the
team.
Mets of college football.
Yeah.
Like seriously, from the organizational side and the on-the-field coaching side, they're the Mets of college football.
I don't believe in Sark as a coach at all. At all. He was terrible at the Falcons, and you got lucky with Alabama, in my opinion. But so I think he's out of there. But you know, if he has a bad year, they go to the SEC and then bring back Urban Meyer. They might be something. We'll see. But I think they might end up being in 11-1, and I don't know that it's against Alabama. It might be against one of these weird teams here that creeps up and get them. So we'll see. Next up, we got Washington. Look, right before we went on air, they just lost their starting running back. He had 13 touchdowns last year. Is a big part of their offense. I know it's changing, and they're going to throw the ball more. I don't have a lot of belief in Washington this year, though. It's
Yeah,
it's
we'll
a
see.
3-loss team probably, somewhere in that neighborhood, and they'll end up in the top 15 to 18. But I don't think they're doing anything.
Yeah, they
this
got to
year.
go at USC, at Oregon State. Those are tough. Then they play Utah at home, but Utah will fucking beat them. So that's at least three losses right there.
Yeah.
But
And then
with Davis down, maybe Penix for Heisman.
maybe, yeah. I mean, he's going to chuck it for sure.
If you're gonna throw some money on it, odds wise, Penix is a good one for sure. He's in his 9th year because he was at Indiana, I think, in 2019. So he's been playing for 30 fucking years. He can wing it, dude, and he's fun and fast, and he can run the ball as well. And he's got another year off that knee injury. So yeah, I think he's gonna have a good year. If you want to sprinkle some money on him for Heisman, it's not a bad pick at all. Same with Bo Nix, to be honest with you, just because there is no defense there. So their numbers are going to be gaudy, but they're not going to have a shot at the college football playoffs or anything like that, I don't think, unless that whole conference collapses, which it might.
Yeah.
Who knows?
We'll
It's the
see.
trap 12 for a reason. I have trouble betting on anything but the overs in that goddamn conference, so we'll see. Next up, here's where things get fun with Clemson. I like this fucking Klubnik kid, dude. The recruits are a year older there. It's the ACC, and other than Florida State, who are we really looking at? I mean, yes.
well, they play
great
Notre
name.
Dame.
Yeah, they do.
They go at
Is it at home though?
Yes.
Yes.
But they go at Miami. That could be tough depending on how things work out there.
Well, we'll know opening night.
Yeah. They go North Carolina. We'll see where they are at that point. There's a chance, though. This might be, technically speaking, the toughest schedule that Clemson's had in a while.
Oh, yeah,
to be honest,
yeah.
Comparatively, because they play Florida State early in the year. They go at Syracuse, and that's a problem for them from time to time. Going at Syracuse is like they were about 50% win on that. So we'll see. At Miami's a tough game. Then Notre Dame and North Carolina. And then they have to go at South Carolina for their rivalry game. And South Carolina is probably going to be pretty good this year.
South Carolina beat them last year.
Yeah.
No, and as much as I hate to say it, dude, Spencer Rattler.
But this year it's in. So they South Carolina beat them in Death Valley last year, and now it's at Williams-Brice Stadium. So it's going to be this is a tough. I don't know that Clemson makes the fucking playoff. I would be surprised.
Let me ask you this: Is Clemson catching Florida State at home, or is it on the road?
It's at home.
Okay.
Yeah, Florida State probably lose that game.
If Florida State loses that game, otherwise wins out, and then avenges Clemson in the ACC championship game, you could probably book them.
I would say because the first game is against LSU, so that's a big one. That's a top 5 win right there. And then there's a good chance by the time they play Clemson will be a top 5 team as well. You get 2 top 5 wins and you're a 1-loss team when the conference winner, then you're into the playoff.
100%.
Which is crazy because you don't think of Florida State as even having a chance right now.
I don't think they have a chance.
Probably not.
I think
a lot of things got to go.
I've got LSU opening week, which I love the Klubnik kid out of Clemson. And I think they're going to be on the upswing again. So I think Clemson's going to be a pretty decent team this year.
Yeah, they still got Shipley, Just do it all right out of the backfield, catch balls.
Mm-hmm. And then, look, the defense is always there. They're always able to get great linebackers and shit. So I think Clemson's fine, especially if Florida State's at home. Now, on to Florida State. They had a great year last year. A lot of fucking high hopes for these guys this year. And I think they're going to get their fucking hearts ripped out opening week against LSU.
Yes.
We will be at that game. And I think they take a step back.
This is the easiest schedule that I've ever seen, though. Mm-hmm. The only problematic game other than Clemson on here and LSU that we've mentioned is at Florida to close out the season for the rivalry game.
I don't think that's
we'll see, right? We'll see. It's unknown. But Wake Forest, fucking homeboy's gone. Harden's gone. Like and they play Miami at home too, so those are the other.
And I don't believe in Miami.
The other teams you're looking at are Syracuse, Duke, Boston College, North Alabama, Pitt. Like all those teams suck. So, they could. They're definitely going to be the primary challenger for Clemson in the ACC.
Who do you got in that opening game? Florida State, LSU.
Oh, I think LSU wins. Yeah.
Same here.
I think I've got LSU in the playoff actually.
Oh, not a bad pick. We'll get there. Penn State is up there at number 7, best defense in the Big Ten. Man, they're fucking nasty up there. It's going to be a fun year for Penn State. I just don't know who their quarterback is, and that seems to be a theme for a lot of these top 10 teams. So
yeah, there's Drew Allar and Bo Pribula. I don't know yet. I don't think they've announced.
I think it might be Allar. I think
we'll see. Yeah, I mean, again, it's college football, so it's not like the NFL where if you lose your first couple of games, it's not a big deal. It is a big deal here. But then, of course, they schedule Penn State opens up with West Virginia, Delaware, and Illinois. Mm-hmm. So
those are easy, but they are at Ohio State this year, which is not great for them.
That's the only that, and then they have Michigan at home. Those are the 2 tough games on their schedule.
That could be an upset for Michigan.
I think
Penn State.
I think both of those are going to be technically.
That's going to be a night game. It's going to be a whiteout game.
Yeah, I don't know that Ohio State will be top 5 by then. I don't know. I haven't looked at their schedule yet, but they play Iowa at home, so that's technically could be a ranked win by then, but unlikely that Iowa will still be ranked. Actually, no, that'll be the game where they lose their rankings, so that'll work.
It might.
Yeah,
you can add another ranked team to that, but
then it's like Northwestern and UMass, Indiana, Maryland, Rutgers, Michigan State, obviously at the final game, who was terrible. Mm-hmm. So
that'll still be tough. That'll be like a sloppy fucking game right there.
Well, Maryland,
it depends.
Dude, has got that Tua's brother.
Maryland, low key, is gonna be a spooky team to play.
They are, dude, and they're gonna knock off one of these big schools. I fucking promise you that, dude. That kid is good for one of these wins, and they will knock off one of these schools.
And that's a big game for Maryland because Maryland and Penn State recruit the same kind of crop.
Right. Mm-hmm. But Penn State, look, their defense is incredible. It just depends on what their offense is going to do. And we'll see. Franklin will always be Franklin towards the end of the game, and I don't know how they get out of that. Even you and I at that game, the last time we were there, was 4th and 5. Mm-hmm. And he ran the ball up the middle from the 50-yard line with a minute and a half left. So who knows? Who knows with these guys? Next up, you got USC. I don't know, man. Pac-12 is the Pac-12. but they lost a lot of fucking dudes up there, and it's just Caleb Williams. And there's a part of me that thinks because he got injured at the end of last year, do you really risk it when you're already number 1 in the draft? If you have a bad game and you lose 1 or 2 and don't have a shot at a national title, do you just kind of sit it out for the rest of the year then and just go for that top pick? Certainly love to have him as the quarterback for the Falcons. I know that much, but I don't know. The rest of the team, like I said, they lost their receivers, they lost their running back. They've never had a defense, and they're clearly never going to have one under Lincoln Riley ever. So who knows what this team is?
I think they're in the playoff.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Man, the back half of this schedule is brutal.
It's brutal, dude.
Maybe, right? Maybe.
Read it up. Read it out loud.
Notre Dame and Utah are brutal. Washington and Oregon, maybe.
You got to go to Oregon.
You got to
go to Oregon?
Look,
I know.
they'll be favored in the Washington game. I'm just saying, it's not a gimme, and their defense sucks so much ass that Penix he's gonna score points.
So is Bo Nix. Bo Nix is going to put some fucking points up there.
Yeah, and then honestly, the last one,
Chip, man.
UCLA is not going to be a cakewalk either.
Well, they lost their quarterback.
Yeah, DCR. He's kind of putting up numbers right now in preseason.
He is. Third string.
And then they have to win the Pac-12 championship game.
Yeah.
Right, on top of it.
I think Chip actually wins that game. I think UCLA might win 9-10 games.
Gross.
This is going to be... The back half of their schedule is just fucking...
It's tough. It's so tough that I don't think that I can put them in the playoffs. If they had a defense to speak of, maybe. But no, I don't see it. You've got them in the playoffs?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got Georgia, Penn State, USC, and LSU in the playoff.
Woo! Say that one more time.
Georgia, Penn State, USC, LSU. I want to put Notre Dame in there, but that schedule is so goddamn brutal.
How do you
they don't have to play a playoff game, which is fortunate, I guess.
But for Penn State, how do you get through Ohio State on the road? Michigan, they could win. Michigan's there.
Penn State has a soul-crushing defense this year.
They do.
I mean, it's rough. It's like Georgia-level defense this year.
But then they would have to play Wisconsin in the Big Ten championship more than likely.
Yeah, but you're not saying the same thing about Georgia. Georgia has to go through LSU and Alabama and then blah, 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 right?
No. Not this year.
Well, not this year, but
one of them they will.
One of them, yeah.
They will,
or two.
But I think that'll probably be their only loss.
And they also have to play almost certainly Georgia ends up having to play a better team in the fucking conference championship because the west side of the Big Ten, it's only Wisconsin over there, right? So I think Penn State beats Ohio State and Michigan. I think they win the conference as well. Maybe there's a loss peppered in there somewhere. But, yeah, I think they're in the playoffs.
They have the defense to do it, and I will say this. Ohio State obviously is going to have a new quarterback. There's going to be fucking problems.
Well, they both got that problem right now.
Well, but one of these games. But a good defense will trump it and probably win. As far as Michigan is concerned, they run the ball the whole fucking game with the two best running backs in the nation. At home, Penn State's defense could definitely stop it.
If you don't stay, that's the whiteout game, 1 and 2. If you don't stay on schedule with those running backs, then you end up having to throw with a guy who isn't necessarily used to throwing under that kind of pressure.
Yeah.
And that's where you get defensive touchdowns. That's what I'm looking at for Penn State this year, but we'll see.
It could be.
It depends on which one of these dicks even plays quarterback for him. We still don't know.
No.
Same thing with Ohio State.
Yeah, and again, that's the theme of the top 10 this year. But we'll get to the next one here. LSU at 5. I've got LSU beating Florida State. Their schedule is brutal, and
Doesn't seem like LSU every fucking year has one of those brutal schedules?
I know.
But
They play in the West.
But this year is the easiest I think their schedule's been in a very long time. Aside from starting out against Florida State, which they normally wouldn't do.
Are they at Alabama this year?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the one on my radar. So they play like Grambling, Mississippi State, Arkansas. Arkansas can always be tough, but it's at home.
Arkansas is a mess this year. I don't think they're
Yeah. They're at Ole Miss. I don't believe in Ole Miss. They're at Missouri. Missouri's got a good defense, but I think that'll be fine.
No, they'll win.
Auburn, they have Auburn at home, which makes that easier.
They'll win.
They play Army. That's always a weird game.
They'll win.
But Army's not as good as Navy at the triple option, all that shit. At Alabama, that's tough. Then they have Florida, Georgia State, and A&M at home for the last 3 games of the season. They've got a really clear path, right, to be a one-loss team going into the fucking conference finals.
They just gotta win this first game.
Yeah.
They got to win the first game, and
just to set the tone more than anything. Like they could probably come back for it. Alabama's a bit fucking jumbled up too, right? So it isn't. I know LSU going into Tuscaloosa winning is not something that's happened very frequently, but it is possible this year. I think LSU's got a really good team. So.
I'm with you, and I think LSU's got a really good shot for the playoffs as well, and I actually have them in it. I think if you come out of the gate strong against FSU, let's say you win that game by 10, 14 points in that game Sunday night, everybody in the nation's watching you. That's a lot of confidence going into the rest of your schedule there. And I think if they do that, yeah, they'll probably end up being in simply because Alabama here is at 4. I don't know who their quarterback is. They don't have the wide receivers. Yeah. They've always got great running backs. They've always got a great defense there. And it is Nick Saban. But because there's so much uncertainty and that Buckner kid didn't get there until a month ago, I don't believe in Alabama this year, and I think this is it's going to be rough sledding for these guys.
I think they're in the second year of a rebuild, basically, right now. You know what I mean? Like last year, they still had Bryce Young, but they didn't have receivers. Mm-hmm. Now this year, they're going to have some good receivers coming in, and they have a quarterback. Who knows what's going to happen? They may not have a starter until week 4, right? We'll see.
And LSU played in the SEC championship last year, and they did hang 500 fucking yards against Georgia.
Against the best defense in college we've ever seen, right? I think last year Georgia's defense was the number 1 ranked defense in the history of college football.
Their defensive line for sure. Yeah. Their secondary was something to be desired, but I think LSU could make the playoffs for sure.
Yeah, and we're on at this point. Bob and I have been talking about it for a year now, but we're on Brian Kelly wins a title at LSU watch as of this year.
I can't do that.
He's gonna do it.
I can't do that.
It's within 5 years.
Yeah,
you've said.
He's going to get a ring.
I tell you what. Bob,
I think
I will
this
buy
year's
you a suit. I will buy you that LSU suit with the tiger suit, the really nice one, the really nice tiger suit.
The one Joe wore.
No. It's a button down, not the mascot suit.
Yeah,
I'm talking sport coat, pants, the whole thing. Some of the alligators to go with it.
Mm-hmm. I don't know that I would be. You're fucking betting. You're putting some stuff on the line here.
It's a lot. It's a lot of money. That suit's a lot of money.
But LSU's got LSU.
They got a team. I'm with you.
No,
I just don't. Crazy. Chip Kelly will fuck it up.
LSU's got a team. You have a transition going on.
Brian Kelly. I'm sorry.
You have a transition going on at Georgia with quarterback right now, and Alabama doesn't even have a starter yet. Right, this is the year for LSU to pop through.
It could be. It very well could be.
I also think they might have their schedule is brutal, but Alabama. Oh God, they just had this 2-week stretch that is really shitty. That they get Tennessee and LSU back to back. LSU gets to play Alabama the week after Alabama plays Tennessee.
All I have to say is Les Miles and Ed Orgeron won a fucking natty, and it's not because they're good coaches.
Yeah, I get it. It's just there's something about Brian Kelly. I just don't like. It was the fake Southern accent. I just can't get behind that fucking guy for anything. I just can't do it.
He killed a videographer. Everybody forgets that.
Yeah, he did. That kid died.
He sent him up there.
Yeah, sure did.
Well,
it was a windy day.
40, 50 mile an hour winds, and said, "Hey, Johnny, go to the top of the tower and record punting."
What's worse, that or Josh Hamilton?
Throwing the guy short.
Brian Kelly.
No.
You really? Because Josh Hamilton actually physically baited the guy into his own death.
I go with Josh Hamilton.
Just for that reason.
I go with Hamilton.
You're a professional athlete, and you throw a man short.
Well, he was a crackhead, so.
Yeah.
You know that videographer live tweeted his death, right?
Man. Yeah, that might make it worse. Although the Texas Rangers were fucking live broadcasting the other guy's death.
And the other guy fucking tumbled out of the thing.
I mean, it wasn't live on television at the time, but they did record it.
Yeah, it sure did.
Josh Hamilton has it on his phone now. He sends it to people all the time. Like, oh, remember when I killed that guy? He probably doesn't do that.
Next up is Ohio State at 3. Look, quarterback problems there. Good thing when all 6 running backs get injured and can't play, well, they're forced to go back, and none of them could go pro. Same with Michigan. So all of those running backs are back for Ohio State. 2 were supposed to go in the top 3 rounds there. They're all back. Wide receivers, best in the nation again with Ibuka and Harrison. Defense is very, very much improved. I just don't know who the quarterback is. And whenever that has happened at Ohio State traditionally in the past, it has not been great for them.
They do have maybe the best pass rush in all of college football.
Yeah, look, 2 of their defense is preseason All-American there. They've got all the things except for the one thing you need to win a national championship, and that is a decent quarterback. I mean, I guess Stetson Bennett won one, but or two actually. But so it is possible. I don't like it though. It's strange. Ohio State has had all these first round quarterback picks, and I can't remember a team without a quarterback in the last fucking 25 years.
What quarterback won you guys a natty?
Well, it was the third string guy, right? It was Cardale, but he was still an NFL quarterback. I mean,
Not really.
he started. He started in the NFL, which
He had a
is
cup of coffee.
tough. It's
for the
tough to do.
Chargers.
It's tough to do. Either way, it's tough to do, man. But he got drafted in the NFL. So yeah, I'm not really sure. You're 10 days away and you don't have a starting quarterback at Ohio State. That is fucking insane to me. But so does Alabama. So does Penn State. 3 out of your top 10 teams don't have quarterbacks right now. It's very strange, man. Now, the kids they have coming in next year, Aaron Noland, all-world, that Lincoln Kineholtz kid, I wish would start as a freshman, but he came in late. That kid could be all-world as well, but it's not this year.
You don't think Ryan Day is going to put up points?
Yeah.
He always does. And the question I think with Ohio State is, are they good enough at running back, which the answer is yes, to run the ball every down? It's not sexy enough for the fan base, and it hasn't been done in a long time there.
They're still going to score 40 points a game.
I hope so. But until they name a starter and we see what they actually look like, the rumor is they're going to split time the same way Michigan did last year for the first 3 games. Michigan didn't figure it the fuck out till the end of the year, but then they came on really goddamn strong, and they looked great. In my opinion, the best team in the nation last year, until the injuries hit for those guys for Michigan. So we'll see. Michigan is at 2 here, and we'll go with them. Look, they're returning pretty much everybody except for their tight ends, who got drafted, second round? Schoonmaker went in.
Yeah.
2 best running backs in the nation. J.J. McCarthy, I heard, has looked lights out at camp. Everybody has said that. Their defense is good. Harbaugh's got a self-imposed 3-game ban here at the top of the season.
Yeah, against East Carolina, UNLV, and Bowling Green, so
Yep.
I think it'll be fine. I mean, they don't actually – so those are their first 3. Then they have Rutgers, Nebraska. Minnesota is good, but not compared to Michigan.
Right.
Indiana, Michigan State was terrible. Purdue's terrible.
Oh, man, this
their
schedule's
first good game
ass.
is not
This is
until
cake.
Penn State.
Veterans Day at Penn State. That's their first game, and they're going to lose that game.
But here's the thing, and that's also the danger. When you play this many shitty teams, and then you've got to go on the road for a night game in a stadium that shows the fuck up for their night games there in the whiteout.
Yep.
That's the danger when you play all these shitty teams, and then you got to go into a Penn State.
Clemson's
so I
run
think they
into it
could
before,
lose that game. Yeah,
that's how Clemson ends up losing to fucking Syracuse every 3 or 4 years. But then they play, so they're at Penn State. Next weekend is at Maryland, which is going to be kind of a weird game for them. And then they have Ohio State at home, and I think they're going to lose that game to Ohio State as well.
A road game?
I hope they lose
Coming
to
off
Ohio
that
State.
road game in Maryland, that's going to be super fucking weird. I think they're going
Yeah.
to come back and lose to Ohio State.
A road game against Maryland sandwiched between Penn State and
Yeah,
Ohio
that
State
sucks, dude.
is not great.
Especially when you've played 7 or 8 straight games against fucking nobodies. You know what I mean? Like, you may not even be dialed in at that point. It's one thing to be dialed in against people who are running at 80% speed of what you're going to see. But when you have the pass rush from Penn State and Ohio State, which are the 2 best in all of college football, right? Man, it's a lot to get tuned up for that late in the season.
It is, and I look, I wouldn't be surprised if they did lose to Penn State in that one. But a 1-loss Michigan team, if they end up beating Ohio State, and then they go into the Big Ten championship or sit out.
Yeah, but they won't get into the Big Ten championship because they'll have lost to Penn State.
Right, but unless Ohio State beats Penn State, so
No. But then
we'll
they'll have the win over Michigan.
You're right.
So it'll be them versus probably Wisconsin.
yeah.
If there's a 3, how does it work in the Big Ten? So let's say Penn State.
If they're all 1-loss teams,
Penn State beats, and they all beat each other. Like it's a circle of suck.
can that happen?
Yes.
Yes, it can happen. Yeah.
In some conferences, it goes to the highest ranked team.
No, it couldn't. There's only 3 teams, so they couldn't all beat each other.
It used to.
It'd be like a triangle.
Yeah.
It would be like the year Tech beat Texas and Texas
Correct.
beat Oklahoma.
Yeah. It can definitely happen.
It would be.
I don't know what does the conference get to decide that? I'm sure it's based on like point differential or some bullshit.
Ranking or something like that. I can't
knows?
remember the last time it's happened.
I don't know.
COVID year was a different story.
Yeah, who knows?
So I'm not really sure.
This
but
is kind of a fucked up end of schedule for them because it's like 2 legit top 5 teams and then weird Maryland. It would be like going against USC, Utah, and squeezed in between them is at Oregon State or some shit like that. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's fucked up to end the season.
And for Ohio State, on the flip side of this, if they lose to a Notre Dame in that night game and then they end up winning out, they'll be fine by the end of the season, where Michigan will be losing these games at the end of the season rather than the beginning of the season. So we'll see what happens here. My bold prediction on Michigan, though, is Harbaugh is out of there after this year, especially if he beats Ohio State. I think it's a walk-off for him, and he leaves saying, all right, I came here, I won 3 in a row, now I'm going to go back and coach the Bears. Or whoever
I want him to go coach the Bears because they're finally putting a roster together, and he's a really good NFL coach. They need somebody
he's a weird
there.
Guy, man.
Yeah, he's a fucking...
He
wears whitey tighties and khaki pants everywhere, but he also fucking buys kids cheeseburgers, which is nice.
Yeah.
So
$8.
Seems like a good guy.
$8 got him a 3-game suspension.
Yeah, that's the dumbest. That might be the dumbest suspension in college football history.
He got suspended for lying.
I fucking hate Michigan, but that is so goddamn stupid, man. I don't want to see him out of the games because he bought a kid a cheeseburger. He's willing to adopt their fucking bastard babies. Like, yeah, let him buy him a fucking cheeseburger. What's the diff? And that'll leave us at Georgia at 1 here. Easiest schedule maybe of all time. Who is it? Tennessee and then the SEC championship. Is that it for Georgia this year?
Yeah.
It should be a cakewalk in.
Now again, always worth noting that they had a home and home with Oklahoma scheduled years ago when Lincoln Riley was still the coach.
Yeah.
That they canceled.
That they had to cancel because OU's moving to the SEC now.
And let's face it.
sense.
But here's the other thing. Oklahoma's not that great. It wouldn't have mattered anyways.
That's the shitty thing about college football is that like when you schedule it,
It's 10 years ago.
they might be.
It is 10 years ago.
Right. They might be good. They're like a good program at the time. Like, fucking Penn State has West Virginia week 1, right?
Yeah.
Like at the time that was scheduled, that was like kind of a good matchup. That was a fun matchup. Now,
But this is fucking the opposite of brutal here. I mean, the teams they do, I guess at Auburn could get weird, but the
Kentucky.
teams they do have that are problematic teams in the SEC, they're all at Georgia. Like fucking South Carolina, Kentucky, Florida, and Missouri, all at Georgia. So they're not losing any of those games.
Probably not.
They're not going to lose any game on this schedule.
And then
right?
let's say
unless the
they-
fucking bottom falls out. But it's who's their quarterback? What's this kid's name?
Beck. He's the dorkiest
Beck.
kid in all of America.
He's the goofiest looking fucker I've ever seen. But he,
Ever.
in limited time last year, lit it the fuck up, right? So I mean, who knows? I think he might be better than Bennett. That's what I've read. We'll see what happens and what kind of skill position players they have to back him up there.
More stars than Bennett ever had.
Yeah, certainly. But can you handle a Georgia with a better quarterback than Stetson Bennett? I know we give him shit a lot, but his performance, his entire college career was elite.
He won. Look, he won the fucking games.
His numbers are elite.
He was a Heisman finalist last
Yes.
year. He wasn't putting up 200 yards a game.
People give him shit because he was he was like 40 years old.
He was 40 years
But
old.
like people give him shit because of how good Georgia's defense was. Like, oh, whatever, this and that. But if you look at the numbers compared to all the other quarterbacks in college football, he's right there with him. So, but this kid looks better than that. So what the fuck, man?
We'll see. We'll find out. I mean, look.
When's the last time a team three-peated? Has it ever happened?
No, not for a very long time.
I mean, like back when there was only like 5 teams or some shit.
Like 1930s. But with Georgia here, look, even if they go undefeated and then they lose to LSU in the SEC championship, they're probably still in, right?
It was the Minnesota Gophers, 1934 to 1936.
Nailed it.
Yes, they are. But it's not going to be a problem. Georgia's
in, right?
They're not losing a game.
Even
if they lose, like you said, even if they lose to Alabama or LSU in the fucking conference,
they still go with one loss.
Yep.
I don't see how they don't make the playoff.
I don't either.
It would have to be
Georgia in.
the biggest collapse of all time.
Yeah, but it's
for them.
also not going to be a deep field. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think anyone from the Pac. It's going to be hard for the Pac-12 to get in. Utah is going to have one loss.
The Pac-12 just is a cannibal conference.
The Big Ten will obviously get one in. The Big 12's not getting anyone in. There's no way the Big 12's getting.
They'll probably
anyone
beat each other.
Texas,
No,
maybe.
It would take a lot.
If they beat Bama,
I don't even think they win the conference. I think Kansas State does.
wow.
They did last year.
Yeah.
I know. But Ewers, I actually like Ewers. I'm probably one of the only ones.
I like Will Howard.
They're just so disorganized. Like they're going to trip over.
Look, they're the Mets. You're right, and they probably will. With Georgia, though, I think their biggest advantage that they have is they have the best coach in America. The last 2 years, I didn't think they were the best team. I thought Alabama was the best team the year before. I thought Ohio State was the year after. He gets these kids to believe they fucking win, and he's able to do shit that nobody else is able to do. He is the very best coach in college football right now. And, yeah, they're going to the playoffs, whether we like it or not, man. They're in, regardless of their schedule. And because of the unknowns here at quarterback for Ohio State, Alabama, Penn State, I think the only two people I could safely put into the college football playoffs right now are probably Georgia and Michigan. Gun to head, I'm going to round out these four and say Georgia, Michigan, LSU, and Ohio State. Those are my four this year.
So two conferences, only two conferences
Only
represented.
two conferences represented, yes. I thought, man, I thought Michigan was the best team last year. I throw away that TCU game. There were so many fucking injuries in that, and the first two series were weird for Harbaugh. I don't know why he did what he did on 4th and 3 and 4th and 5 going for a touchdown. It was dumb, but the injuries got the best of those guys, and they were a very, very good football team, man. Yes, and it's for the reasons that you said. Pac-12 is going to eat itself. I don't think USC is going to make it.
Utah is, I think, the only one that has a shot.
Same, but their schedule's fucking tough.
I kind of like Oregon.
Clemson, Florida State. The ACC, some of these guys are going to lose. I don't know if they've got enough firepower to get in from that conference. Whereas in the Big Ten, you have Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State. And then you look at Ohio State's out of conference schedule with Notre Dame. That's a fucking tough one as well. They could squeak in there at 4, even with a loss to Michigan or Penn State or Notre Dame. Any combo of that, they could sneak in there. So, yeah, I think I'm going to go with those two conferences. And I think that there's a reason why the two conferences will be the powerhouse for, the next decade to come. It's going to be the Big Ten and SEC.
I think USC is going to sneak in. I think they're going to score like 45 points a game this year.
And they will. There's probably no doubt of that. But I mean,
against good teams as well, not just against shit teams.
But the problem is they have no defense. Where they're going up against Penix, Rison, and then Bo Nix, and I think their schedule is just too tough. I think some of these losses are going to be like 58-55.
Maybe
like that. There's just no defense at USC, and they certainly didn't do anything in the offseason to do it. So I've got those 4 teams in my top 4. Who do you have?
Yeah, I don't know that it matters. If USC, no matter what happens, if USC gets in, I think they will. But even if they do, they're going to get fucking shit stomped
they have no defense
by anybody they play. I think so. LSU and Penn State and Georgia, the other 3 teams I have in. I think that Penn State's defense will get them there. I don't think it'll be enough to get them through the first round. Probably, we'll see. I don't know how that offense is going to develop. It's a rookie quarterback, no matter who they choose. So, and I think Georgia and LSU play in the title game. It's an all-SEC title game, and I think LSU probably wins that. Just history is on their side.
So you've got LSU winning the entire national championship this year.
History's on their side. Winning 3 in a row, again, it hasn't happened in almost 100 years. So there's a reason for that.
Yeah.
It's tough, man.
It is, and they've got a new quarterback and all that stuff. They didn't really shore up their secondary either, and that's their problem. And I think that's going to be their biggest problem against LSU.
Yeah.
Because LSU, the only pro-style offenses they've faced in the last 2 years were Bama, Ohio State, and LSU, and all 3 of those teams were able to hang 500-plus yards on those guys.
They put up like 40 points.
They'll still have the best D-line and linebackers and all that shit. The offense is always weird.
Well, Penn State and Ohio State have higher ranked defensive lines than Georgia does this year. So, but take that for whatever it's worth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they'll have plenty of time to figure it out because they don't play anybody all year. So they'll be there. National championship-wise, wow, dude. I think I'm putting Michigan in there. That pains my fucking soul to say it, dude. I think I'll put Michigan in there, and then just because Kirby Smart is the best coach in college football. Michigan at Georgia, and I might give the nod to Michigan because of their veteran play. Blake Corum and Donovan in the backfield back there, They're fucking leaders, man. I think J.J. McCarthy, from everything that I've heard, has had a great spring, even better fucking August. So, God damn it, dude. Is there a way that Michigan is going to win this fucking national championship this year? Maybe. I that's who I'm going to put in there right now.
I don't think so.
I don't know. And that's the thing. This year seems to me more wide open than the others. And that's what's fun about it, at least. Because I truly don't know, and especially when 30% of your top 10 doesn't have real quarterbacks yet, 40% if you want to throw Georgia in there and back. I think it's kind of wide open this year, and it might not be a bad pick to take LSU as a flyer. What are their odds this year, Bob, to win the Natty for LSU on my bookie?
Let me check. I guarantee you they're one of the 3 or 4 favorites. Let's see here.
Well, they're opening up at 5 in the nation. Because if you're going to, here's why I asked this, Bob. If you're going to bet them now, because if they come out and curb stomp FSU, everybody's going to be all in on them the rest of the year, and the odds will go through the goddamn roof at that point.
I've seen like 10-1, 12-1.
14-25.
Ooh. I'd throw a hundo on that, dude. That's 14.5. Yeah, it's not bad. You LSU win it all.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, that's not bad at all for those odds.
You got to sprinkle that just for the suit.
You sure
for
do.
Rob,
You sure
that
do.
You're gonna buy
You sure do.
Yeah.
Those Gators, dude. Who do you guys have, by the way?
for our playoff.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go Georgia, Alabama,
Why Bama, just out of curiosity?
because Bama's winning it all. That's why. Bama's my national champion easily, and then
With no starting quarterback.
they have a starting quarterback.
Who is it?
It doesn't matter if it's Buckner. It doesn't matter if it's Milroe. They're going to probably kind of go back and forth. Milroe's probably going to win the job, if I was to imagine. And then we're going to go Ohio State and Florida State.
Florida State. Okay, so you think Florida State is them beating LSU opening game?
I don't think they have to.
I agree with that.
Yeah, it's the top of the year. If that's your one loss, it's not bad.
Yeah.
You're fine the rest of the year.
Yeah.
Because LSU is going to be great all year. And they'll probably end up winning a couple other huge games there, so it'll be a great one on the resume. How about you, Bob?
I'll probably have Alabama, Georgia as my national championship. Alabama wins.
Gross.
Another one.
Gross, huh? Okay. What about you, Bob?
I am going Florida State, LSU, Georgia, and Michigan.
Okay.
So I imagine the SEC teams would probably not match up in the semifinal. So you got what? LSU and Georgia will be on opposite sides of the bracket, but I think probably, I don't know how the bracket will shake out, but I think Michigan versus LSU, and I'm really torn here because I like Michigan a lot, but I think Brian Kelly's going to win a championship. But I'm actually going to go LSU. It's so small, but man, those choices Harbaugh made in the fucking semifinal last year.
No, I know.
I have too many negative flashbacks of Pac-12 football late night, watching Daniels turn the ball over in Arizona State.
He's got I think Harbaugh's got the yips, coaching wise. Like that's a big. Pete Carroll never recovered.
No, and
although this past year they had a really good season.
The weird thing was, man, and this will make the Longhorns happy, but with the fans there, I was at that 2011 national championship, and I thought if Colt McCoy would have stayed healthy, they would have won by 2 touchdowns. That game, though, was the first time I ever saw Saban nervous. He did a fake punt on 4th down from like the 20-yard, his own 20. And it was the oddest fucking call of all time. And it reminded me of the bullshit that Harbaugh did. Is he over it? Can he get over that hump? I don't know. I hate him as a person, so I fucking hope not.
He also is kind of
lose all their games.
He's kind of an android, so I'm not sure he's sitting around thinking about the mistakes he's made. You
I don't think so either.
He's just like, oh, khaki pants.
Yeah.
He's got that fucking Dennis Hoffman Rain Man shit going. Haynes 32, Kmart, Cincinnati. He's like, all right, cool, man. You need pants. I got it.
Yeah.
Fucking relax. Dude.
So
he may not even remember that happened.
I know. If somebody's going to get over it, it might be him.
He didn't remember that cheeseburger either. So
no, and it's tough for me because he did take a team to the Super Bowl, for Christ's sakes.
Yeah.
And it was Kaepernick.
He's a better NFL coach than he is a college coach, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like the thing that he's really good at is getting the best out of a quarterback in the NFL level. That's why I really want him to go to Chicago, because I want Justin Fields to become an MVP there, so finally Chicago can have a good team for once.
Well, it's weird. Harbaugh was fucking quarterback in college. So it's strange.
Well, he was a quarterback in the NFL as well.
Yeah.
He's a good player.
But anybody can win this year. It's going to be fun. There's nobody that is locked in for me, whereas last year,
I think Georgia's locked in.
We all thought Georgia
not to win the national title, but to be in it for sure.
They're in the playoffs for sure.
Yeah.
If you're looking for a guarantee, it's them simply because their schedule sucks. But who knows when they get to an LSU and they got to face a guy who can wing it. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Injuries will also play a massive role in all this other shit. So take it for whatever it's worth. We like to do these prediction shows so that way you can try to get the best odds if you want. And again, bet against us if you think your team is going to do it. I've heard Florida State a lot out of you guys. What is it about Florida State?
Norvell's a great coach.
I like Norvell, but they don't have the talent of everybody else.
They do.
been
And
recruiting
Jordan
really well.
Travis is probably a top 5 quarterback in the country.
They've been recruiting well, and again, by the way, other than the LSU game, they don't have a tough schedule. They're more than capable of beating Clemson twice.
I've got them losing twice this year. I got them losing to Clemson, and I got them losing to LSU opening week.
If they beat LSU, they're on cruise control because then they can lose a game.
Yes.
As long as it's not the ACC championship.
Right. I actually think they beat LSU, and then they probably lose to Clemson in Death Valley.
And then
but then
avenge
they
that loss.
avenge that loss in the ACC championship.
Well, we'll be there. All my money will be going on LSU that night, but we will be in the stadium, and you're welcome to join us there. We're going to go to, I believe, Tactical Brewing beforehand, pre-game it up over there, have some Hard AF seltzers and rage. In the meantime, we'll get to the 2 top 25 picks for this week. That is Navy against Notre Dame in Ireland. Point spread on mybookie.com is Notre Dame minus 20.5. Over under is 50.5. Who you taking?
I'll take Notre Dame 20.5.
Okay. I am also going to take Notre Dame at minus 20.5, and because Daddy loves to tease it as well, and it's the first game of the weekend. I'm going to be doing all the things in this, and you'll be able to see all my slips in Drinkin Bros Sports on Facebook. I'm going to tease this down to get this Notre Dame at 13.5, and I'm going to tease the under up to 57.5. I don't know if Navy can score that many points to beat an over like that. The night game is San Jose State against USC. The spread has already jumped up to minus 31 for USC. Who do you got in that one, D'Anthony?
I don't know. The offense is never going to be the problem there. I think scoring points is just not going to be a fucking problem.
No, the over-under is 66 in this game,
Yeah.
and I think that's where I live in this.
That's kind of where, because I don't know. I didn't see them make any big moves on defense. That doesn't mean they didn't make internal moves that are going to show benefit, right? We'll see. So I can't really speak to that. But, yeah, the safest bet is probably the over. 66? You fucking kidding me? Like, USC might put up 50 in this game.
And all the other teams could be 50 to 14.
Yeah, but it's like USC, they're not going to fucking shut you down defensively probably, right? So you got to think, I don't know. I don't know. That's what I'm betting, though, so we'll see what happens.
It's in the Coliseum. It's going to be 78 that night. Perfect weather to go bombs away. And
What's up with San Jose State, guys? I mean, they
score points.
They run out
They
some
can
decent
score.
teams, right?
They can score.
They can score.
So
The over is the safest bet. I think.
31 is a lot of fucking points. I never bet over 30.
I try not to.
Maybe if
Watch
it's
out for those teasers.
maybe if there's a teaser involved and it's you're throwing it in with a couple of other games, I'll do that. But this one seems like I think this game's going to be like fucking. USC will score in the mid 40s and San Jose State will score in the low 20s probably.
Yeah. And it's one of those ones too where it's the night game on Saturday night. You're already amped up about the day. You got UFC in the morning. You got the Notre Dame game in the afternoon. This is in the night game. Throw it on the over so you can just enjoy the game and root for a million fucking touchdowns. Like, that's probably the move, and that's what I'm going to do. But go into Drinkin Bros Sports on Facebook. Sign up. All my bet slips will be in there for Saturday's games, and I always post those every single Saturday of the year. Been pretty goddamn good the last few years. Luckily, won the last 6 Super Bowls too. So, shit. It'll be fun. Football's my favorite. It's back. I bet on all the things. I tease all the things as well. And, man, my cards are wild across the board on Saturdays and Sundays. I'm grateful it's back. It's going to be an awesome year. And anybody can win this year, I feel like. Whereas in years past, I think we kind of knew who it was. One of us picked the winner here the last 5 years. for college football, where this year, I don't know, to be honest with you. And that's what makes it fun. Thanks for tuning in, kids. Bet with us or against us on mybookie.com. Use that promo code DrinkinBros to double your first deposits all the way up to $1,000. And then go to iTunes, rate the show a 5-star, and leave a quick review. Also, head on over to Spotify. It's just a 5-star, and you can walk away. For D'Anthony Holloway, I'm Ross Patterson. This is the 2023 College Football Prediction Show. Good night, everyone.